It's not.
Hey, Cudahy to all my friends and relatives in four directions. This is Robert Pilot of Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake. I'm here to ask you for your support. Finding honest Native-centered news is not easy, but with your support, we're able to provide accurate information about Standing Rock, Line 3, treaty violations, and COVID-19 in our Native communities. Please visit Native Roots Radio Network on Patreon and donate if you can. That's Native Roots Radio Network on Patreon. Pinigigi, and thank you for your support.
Signing up for $1 bus and train rides with the Transit Assistance Program, or TAP, is quick and easy. Do it straight from your computer or phone by uploading one of the pre-approved documents listed at metrotransit.org/TAP, along with a copy of your ID. We'll mail you a to-go card with a full year of discounted rides. For questions or translation help, call 612-373-3333. 612-373-3333.
The city of Minneapolis is now on Native Roots Radio with Minneapolis AIR. AIR stands for American Indian Relations. Guest host Christine McDonald talks to people about important things affecting the city's Native communities. Minneapolis AIR dives into topics like public safety, public health, elections, and so much more. Tune in to Minneapolis AIR on Native Roots Radio from 5 to 6 p.m. on the second Wednesday of every month, right here on AM 950. Support for Native Roots Radio comes from the Walker Art Center, an art space that's more than the spoon and cherry. Galleries celebrate contemporary visual art, including Indigenous artists like Edgar Heap of Birds, Cheyenne and Arapaho Nation, and Jim Demini, Ojibwe. Additionally, films screen in the cinema, and performances are shown on stage. Free every Thursday night and free every day for members and citizens of tribal nations. Learn more at walkerart.org. Again, that's walkerart.org. Did you know that from birth to age 3, simple activities like talking, playing, reading, and singing can profoundly impact your child's development? Little Moments Count is dedicated to providing parents with the resources they need to make the most of these moments. Visit the website littlemomentscount.org to connect to a collection of resources designed to support you in giving your child the best start in life. That's littlemomentscount.org.
With your AM 950 weather, I'm Brett Johnson. Look for cloudy skies tonight with a low around 38, Thursday cloudy with a high near 50, and Friday sunny with a high around 58. Unleash your cravings at Maverick's Real Roast Beef. Dive into a world of flavor with their signature Philly steak, tantalizing turkey bacon avocado, and an array of mouth-watering options like crispy chicken and fish. Pair it perfectly with freshly fried fries or golden onion rings. Unforgettable sandwiches. That's Maverick's Real Roast Beef in Roseville.
Portions of Native Roots Radio may be pre-recorded.
It's a good day to be indigenous.
Get up, stand up.
They are going to become more brutal.
Because all the hippies were trying to be Indians anyway.
They're going to become more repressive because it's a matter of dollars and their illusionary concepts of power.
Hey, Victor.
We must live in balance with the earth.
And also with recent happenings at Wounded Knee.
I am awake. Welcome to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake, and I'm your host, Wakanja Hade. Hey, Cudahy to all my friends and relatives in four directions. You are listening to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake, and I'm your host, Robert Pilot. Hey, we discuss local and national Native news and events. And as you know, Chujunk, Native issues are human issues, and human issues are Native issues.
Yes, you are right, Daga. This episode of Minneapolis AIR American Indian Relations on Native Roots Radio is supported by the city of Minneapolis.
Hey, as you all know, Minneapolis is the home of one of the largest urban Native American populations in the country, and we're thankful to have these updates monthly. Today, we have a great substitute filling in for guest host Christine McDonald. Please take it away. Anthony Taylor, welcome to Native Roots Radio. Hoa.
Thank you, Robert, and thank you, Haley. Thank you, everybody. I am so excited to be on Native Roots Radio, Minneapolis AIR, American Indian Relations. I am the guest host, Anthony Taylor. I am the Community and Cultural Engagement Manager for the city of Minneapolis, also host of Minneapolis 360 on KMOJ, filling in for Christine McDonald today. And it is an honor to be on Native Roots Radio. I've always wanted to be a part of someone else's show, to feel the experience of what it's like to have such a great team working for our communities. And it is my privilege to sit in her seat and offer hopefully some positive and really informative things we can talk about today for our community. We've got a jam-packed show. I cannot wait to get started. And again, thank you for allowing me to sit in this chair. I want to bring on a guest, Tony Zaccardi, public health specialist from the health department for the city of Minneapolis, to talk a little bit about opioid awareness, especially when it comes to opioid and youth in our city. I think obviously we understand that this is a huge problem in our city as well as our country. And I can't wait for Tony to kind of get us going and tell us a little bit about what the city is doing, maybe talk about the campaign, maybe look and talk about what are some of the signs, just give us the whole package of what it is to understand the idea of opioids and how it affects our youth. So, Tony, welcome. How you doing? Welcome to Minneapolis. Excuse me, I'm gonna say Minneapolis 360. Welcome to Minneapolis AIR. How are you doing?
Thank you, Anthony, and thank you, Haley. It's an honor to be here for sure. Yeah, I'm a public health specialist for the city of Minneapolis. My job entails kind of doing everything, and I think that's why I'm a specialist, because I just have to do it all. But I come from a background. I used to own a bar in South Minneapolis, and am now happily in recovery from alcohol and substance use. And so getting to, help people that are also, or that are still struggling with that is become, a very large passion of mine. And pretty fortunate that I'm able to do that in the context of working with the city, for sure. And yeah, that's kind of just a little bit about what I do. It comes from, I got my CDL. I'm going to be driving a mobile medical unit with the city. I know that Christine's probably mentioned that before on her show. Yeah. And also I'm in high schools handing out naloxone. You never know what the day is going to bring, and that's what I love. So yeah, I'm happy to chat about opioids with you, and look forward to your questions.
Absolutely. So let's get into it, right? So like the city of Minneapolis is working kind of to raise awareness, right, around opioids and youth. Kind of dig into that a little bit, Tony. Tell us like what really is going on and how is the city really trying to make folks aware of this crisis in our community?
Sure. Well, yeah, I mean, the youth now it's definitely become a big focal point for us. And Native youth is a, by large, kind of where we've started that focus. We recently filmed a series of videos at the Boys and Girls Club at the American Indian Center, featuring their youth, and let them tell some of their stories, and did a campaign on social media. So, even online, like scrolling through Facebook, Snapchat, city's not allowed to use TikTok, but you're seeing little videos, and we want is youth to talk to each other and learn how to have a conversation with each other about use and about drugs, and by and large then learn how to hopefully help save lives if they're ever faced with somebody that's overdosing. And so just getting all of that context, get all of that information out there, has really just kind of been a focus for us. Learning to not be afraid to ask questions, learning how to, who you can talk to, and then just, knowing that it's cool to carry Narcan, that kind of thing, you'll see, we're, like Robert Lillard mentioned many times in a meeting we have, that 100% of the community and relatives at Little Earth are affected in some way by opioid use. And so, when you get 5-year-old children asking about Narcan or asking what to do in case of, that's when we realized we have to change our focus and really, make sure the youth understands, even if you're teaching them on a simpler level, right? You're not going to teach them CPR, which is something you should do after an overdose, but teaching them, what to do and what to look for.
Yeah, I love that, right? You're really focusing on kind of peer-to-peer empowerment, right? So having our students talk with each other around this crisis. And Tony, this is probably the easiest question I'm going to ask you today, right? So why is the city doing this campaign?
To help people. That's the whole thing. That's why why I got into working in recovery. That's why people go to meetings and help each other in meetings. It's simply as a human, you want to help a person. You see somebody struggling. What can I do? What can I do to help? How can I help? And so many ways. Just being a person that's not judging somebody who's maybe you see an active use. I mean, we all see it. I live 4 blocks from Lake Street, and so up and down Lake and Hiawatha in that area, it's easy for somebody to go, oh, look at that. But no, it's like I mentioned earlier, Tony or Anthony, there's a person there, and that's family, that's community. Those are our relatives. How do we just get that conversation going with them and keep life going? Another statistic that is scary to hear, and you probably already know this, but Native women are one of the highest, if not the highest, opioid deaths in the Twin Cities. And so losing young Native women who give life, you're losing culture and you're losing growth in the Native community. And so just seeing somebody struggle, Native, not Native, doesn't matter. I want to help somebody, I want to do anything I can to get that person back out of that addiction and get the human, get that life back.
Yeah, and we've seen how significant the impacts are for our Native American communities. And you talked about it, Tony, right? It impacts so much, not just individuals. It impacts family, it impacts safety, friendship, communities. So obviously, when I say it's an easy question because the why is so easy to understand, right? So I'm glad you kind of focused on that. And one of the things I think is important for all of our communities is really understanding what the city is doing, right? So we understand this is a crisis. We understand the significance. What exactly are the ways that folks are the city is having this impact? Now, this is a pretty large question, so maybe we can just kind of focus on that a little bit, Tony, kind of marinate, because I want you to come back and really hit us with some really good information as we come out of this break. But I can't wait for your answer to this question.
Yeah, boy, oh boy, it could get long, but I'll tell you what, here's a quick, easy one. Syringe drop boxes. You know what? I don't even want to get going on this because it's just going to take too long. I think it's a.
Hey, Tony, we'll be right back. Everyone's listening to Minneapolis AIR, American Indian Relations here on Native Roots Radio. We'll be right back after this short break.
Stay with us.
All right.
I love my Toyotas from Rudy Luther Toyota for one simple reason. I can depend on them. You know they keep you safe, and they're incredibly reliable, fuel-efficient, comfortable, and stylish. The Consumer Reports Best of 2025 edition has 10 Toyotas as best buys in affordability. Toyotas are some of Consumer Reports' highest-rated certified pre-owned vehicles, and Rudy Luther Toyota's service department is the one place I take my Sienna for all of its maintenance needs. Toyotas are fantastic vehicles because they're fantastic vehicles. See for yourself at Rudy Luther Toyota off of 394 in Golden Valley.
Summer is fast approaching. How will your teens spend their days? Reconnecting Our Roots is a unique opportunity for Native American teenagers from the Twin Cities area. Students will engage in cultural activities and learn about Native histories rooted through Minnesota Makoche in a welcoming environment. The summer session runs July 14th through the 18th at the Minnesota History Center, and a stipend is available for those who attend each day. Learn more and apply now at mnhs.org/NEI.
Now showing at MIA, artist Mary Sully was a visionary ahead of her time. Born on the Standing Rock Reservation, she worked in near obscurity between the 1920s and 1940s, creating intricate, vividly colored drawings that blend Dakota heritage with modern life. Now on display at the Minneapolis Institute of Art, experience the first solo exhibition featuring Mary Sully's work and see how her art challenges traditional ideas of Native and modern art. Only at MIA and always free to visit. Learn more at artsmia.org. The city of Minneapolis is now on Native Roots Radio with Minneapolis AIR. AIR stands for American Indian Relations. Guest host Christine McDonald talks to people about important things affecting the city's Native communities. Minneapolis AIR dives into topics like public safety, public health, elections, and so much more. Tune in to Minneapolis AIR on Native Roots Radio from 5 to 6 p.m. on the second Wednesday of every month, right here on AM 950.
Hi, this is Governor Walz. Thank you for listening to Native Roots Radio.
And we're back to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake, and this is Robert Pilot.
This episode of Minneapolis AIR, American Indian Relations on Native Roots Radio, is supported by the City of Minneapolis. And here's our guest host, Anthony Taylor.
Thank you, everybody. Welcome back. I am the guest host, Anthony Taylor, with the City of Minneapolis, talking with Tony Zaccardi, public health specialist around opioid awareness. The opioid campaign that the City of Minneapolis is having for our community. And before we went to the commercial break, I asked Tony, really, what exactly is the city doing to talk about prevention for our communities? And Tony, I really love you to dig into that, because one of the things I think is important is exactly what does the city do. If I'm a community member, I don't know exactly what's going on. So kind of just talk us through some of the work around prevention on opioids in our community.
Yeah, thank you. I think, as also a community member, it's easy to, just see things going on and go, ugh, why isn't anyone taking care of this? Why is nothing being done? I can tell you that's the furthest thing from the truth. The first and foremost, the basis of kind of what I do and my team does is we manage grants for, so we've got, the city gets money from different sources, from grants, from opioid settlement funds, and we fund community groups that are out doing the work, if you will. So we're giving money to, say, if it's a Mother's Love on the north side, who are, what they do is they're a contract for syringe pickup all over the city. If you call 311, they're going out to do syringe work. But the bigger part of that is East African and Native communities, Black, and everybody, Hispanic communities, wanting to, people that are wanting to get peer recovery services, getting into treatment, getting into housing. We fund the groups that are doing that work, and that's kind of really the primary function of my team on a basic level. Other things, we do, I mentioned the drop boxes, but, it's not a helpful one, but it helps for community. If you see them, they're bright colored boxes. There's about 26 of them around the city. And definitely see them over here at Phillips, just places to keep them off the ground, keep them out of kids' hands. We're launching a mobile medical unit this summer, which I'll be driving. And that will be a way for us to get into community and work with, again, some of our partners, maybe with NAC and with Fairview, some other places. And we'll be doing, MOUD, so medications for opioid use disorder, folks that are wanting to get treatment. Also, we're going to approach mental health. We're going to be doing wound care for our friends in active addiction. We've got 3 nurses that are going to be working out, and they're already working in community. So they already have relationships with people that are down in the trenches, so to speak. We're going to be working with school-based clinics again, doing vaccinations and stuff. Other things, there's just kind of so many things going on all at once. I think we've got over here near where I live, we've got a naloxone vending machine here in South Minneapolis at Fire Station 21. And what that is, it's a zero barrier, 24-hour free naloxone vending machine. You can walk up to it, press a button, and Narcan drops out. Just like that. You don't got to talk to anyone. You don't got to answer questions. There's no stigma. There's no pharmacist. There's no money. It's just there. You take it and you go. And getting that, we want that, in as many people's hands as possible. I yesterday watched a group of high school students at South get Narcan training. And, it's humbling because I forget, because I'm around it so much that I think everyone already knows this stuff. No, it's like, no, they don't. And so being able to answer questions for folks, being able to be part of that in community, just teaching people the basics of, what to do with Narcan, what it's for, who can and can you not use it on. A lot of that stuff that's just so important.
And one of the things that I think also too, it just reminds me, like I can think of myself when I was young, right? And just some of the things that I had to deal with around that time, being a young person, around, my friends, maybe in middle school and high school, and just some of the things that you can be able to get into that's not really healthy for you. And I couldn't imagine being a youth in this day and age with all of the things that they have to deal with. But you end up finding yourself in situations that you would be using opioids, right? And just like talk a little bit about what are some of the issues for youth who might find themselves in a situation using an opioid. Like, how could that happen? Like, just talk us through a little bit, like situations you've heard or experienced where this has happened to folks, and all of a sudden they're in a whole lot of trouble, right? So can you speak to that a little bit, Tony?
So that's one thing I think that has never changed throughout as we were growing up in maybe different decades. Peer pressure is huge, of course. You know, I mean, you see, or it looks cool. In certain communities, obviously, if you see your older brother and his friends, or your parents or your grandparents, even, they're doing something you see every day and it looks cool, or they look like they don't have to care because they just look like they're nodding out and just whatever. Learning that that's not cool. Learning that, I think peer pressure is a huge part of it. And as somebody who's, again, in active, recovery from active addiction, I think, it's pretty easy why would you ever start taking fentanyl? Well, I mean, that, there's no reason to, it's hard to, unless you've been in it, it's hard to, why did I get into what I was doing? I don't know. At the time, at the moment, it seemed fun. It seemed cool. It seemed whatever. But another part, of all of this you see is people that accidentally get hooked on opioids. And that's, the classic is, work injury or this or that, where you're prescribed oxycodone or Oxycontin or hydrocodone, that kind of thing. And then you really like it. Then you run out and you start looking for other ways to get it or get that same high or that same feeling. And then suddenly, you had a job and you've got kids and a family, whatever. Suddenly you're under the bridge buying, pills that you're crushing up and smoking on foils, wondering, how did I get here? So for me, I think the path isn't, or the question isn't, what's the path that got you here? It's how to, well, I mean, I guess it is, but it's, really now we see it as how do you stop it? How do you get people back away from it? But for kids, it's really, I think, the knowledge of what goes into it. What are you putting in your mouth or putting up your nose or whatever that you're being told it's one thing and you don't know what it actually is.
Yeah, absolutely. And just really quick, if you could spend just like a minute, just talk about some signs or some symptoms that people should look out for.
Yeah, I think the biggest one, and I think we've all seen it, is people nodding out. People, you see people doing the fentanyl lean where they're bent over. But I mean, the biggest thing is if we're having a conversation and it's 3 p.m. and you're falling deep, you're nodding out heavy, that's a big, that could be a big indicator. Pupils, if your pupils are teeny, tiny, tiny, tiny little pinholes, that's a very good indicator of opioid use. And then if you're on the stronger level, if somebody's going into overdose, maybe you'll see their lips or their fingers turning blue. I found a kid, I was working at a treatment facility, and I walked in, I was doing room checks, and I saw his feet were blue or purple. And I knew right away. I grabbed my Narcan, and sure enough, he was having an overdose. And I think the biggest thing is trust your instincts and know that, if you've got naloxone and you think somebody's overdosing, you give it to them. You're not going to do them harm if they are not in overdose. That's a very important thing. And it's pretty easy to find free anywhere. So better to take your chances because you can save a life pretty easily.
Yeah. And thank you for letting us know that. One of the things I think one of my favorite parts of any show that I listen to or a part of, like, tell me the resources, right? I need some resources. Tony, tell me where I can go to help my family or my friends who are experiencing any of these issues.
I'd love to tell you all kinds of them, but the biggest place to go right now for us is the City of Minneapolis website, minneapolismn.gov /youth-opioids/resources. We've got a great list of links, community organizations, groups who work there. Also, a lot of social media videos you can share with youth about the dangers of opioids, and also where to find lots of resources, naloxone, all that kind of stuff. So right on there.
Yeah. And this is great. I mean, it's good information, Tony. One of the things I think I want to kind of just close out this segment is if we can kind of talk about just getting involved. And you said something earlier on my show that I really would love you to talk about, and just really talk about why is this so important to you, this topic and the work that you're doing.
Right. I think that's pretty easy. You know, if people would have given up on me, I wouldn't be here. And the biggest thing I like to push and tell people, and it comes from my heart, and a lot of people that work in public health, is there's a person in there. There's a heart. There's somebody's relative that's on the street. There's somebody's brother, sister, mom, uncle, the whole bit. And remembering that, they know that they're in addiction. They know where they're at in life. And so coming out of, being able to talk to somebody like a human and just ask them how they're doing. Ask them, can you help them with anything? You might not get the answer you want, but the biggest thing is just always remembering that that's a soul there, and they're hurting. They're a person that needs help, and maybe they're not ready to take it today. But if you keep showing up, keep being there, keep being a friendly voice or face in their life, maybe one day they will ask you for help. And that's really what we try to do. And we're wanting, and a lot of these community groups are wanting to do. When somebody's ready, you be there with armed, ready to go. If they ask, you take them. We've got there's so many community groups. If you want treatment today, you can get into treatment within 24 hours. You just got to ask. And so, yeah, that's kind of what we do.
Yeah, and thank you for joining today, Tony. That's really one of the things that resonates with me is show compassion, right? This is somebody's brother, this is somebody's uncle, sister, grandmother, auntie. I just think that's really important. Information was super solid today. And thank you for joining us, Tony. Really appreciate you.
Thank you, everybody. Thanks for having me today.
Right on. Hey, we'll be right back. You're listening to Minneapolis AIR, American Indian Relations on Native Roots Radio.
Peace of mind shouldn't cost a fortune. We keep things simple at Schroman Law because we believe planning for your estate and end-of-life care shouldn't be stressful or expensive. Every client relationship starts with a free consultation so clients have the information they need before making important decisions. From there, we work closely with clients to ensure they are choosing the most efficient and cost-effective plans for their specific needs. Schedule a free consultation today at schromenlaw.com. That's SCHROMEN law.com.
Hey, it's Patrick. Spring showers may bring May flowers, but they also bring big savings with Zero Res. And right now, you can beat the spring cleaning rush with big savings and priority booking by calling our heroes at Zero Res. Zero Res removes winter's buildup and lingering odors, giving your home a fresh, spring-ready feel, preparing your home for the brighter days ahead. Just check out the almost 21,000 raving customer service reviews online with a 4.9 Google rating and see what all the hype is about. This month, get 3 rooms Zero Resified from Minnesota's #1 carpet cleaner starting at just $119 and take $75 off an air duct cleaning as well. You owe it to yourself and your family to breathe healthy, happy, and clean. Call Zero Res right now at 952-ZERO-RES or go online to ZeroResMinnesota.com and say you want the AM 950 special. Spell it backward or forward, it's the same. Zero Res.
Summer is fast approaching. How will your teens spend their days? Reconnecting Our Roots is a unique opportunity for Native American teenagers from the Twin Cities area. Students will engage in cultural activities and learn about Native histories rooted through Minnesota Makoche in a welcoming environment. The summer session runs July 14th through the 18th at the Minnesota History Center, and a stipend is available for those who attend each day. Learn more and apply now at mnhs.org/NEI.
You're listening to AM 950, the progressive voice of Minnesota.
Are you experiencing troubles with thinking, comprehending, or speaking, have post-COVID brain fog, ADHD, concussion, tremors from Parkinson's, mental health issues, or simply striving to maximize your brain's potential? At Hypercharge Wellness Centers, we deliver transformative results for the brain. Hypercharge Wellness's brain fitness protocol utilizes cutting-edge modalities, including PEMF, red light therapy beds, and transcranial laser, which all work together to improve focus and cognitive functions. These treatments aim to improve the brain's blood flow and electrical patterns, which reduces anxiety and enhances relaxation, providing a comprehensive approach to brain health optimization. All are invited to experience this life-changing journey towards achieving the pinnacle of cognitive and emotional well-being. Call or go online to schedule your free Hypercharge Wellness introductory session, valued at $200 today. This is your opportunity to feel the difference for yourself. No matter where you are in the Twin Cities, there is a convenient location near you. Visit hyperchargeclinic.com now. That's hyperchargeclinic.com. Hypercharge is hope.
Turn to Auto Technical with your vehicle donation. Even though Auto Technical is a small nonprofit, we have helped more families with transportation than any organization in Minnesota. Since '94, we have reconditioned donated vehicles so they have a higher tax benefit. Call Richard at 612-919-5526, 612-919-5526, or autotech.org.
With your AM 950 weather, I'm Brett Johnson. Look for cloudy skies tonight with a low around 38, Thursday cloudy with a high near 50, and Friday sunny with a high around 58. Discover perfection at Maverick's Real Roast Beef in Roseville. From Philly steak to crispy chicken, every bite is exceptional. Add freshly fried fries or rings for a winning combo. Visit mavericksbeef.com or find them off Lexington and Roseville. Unforgettable sandwiches. Maverick's Real Roast Beef.
Hi, this is Representative Sharice Davids from Kansas. I'm Ho Chunk, and you're listening to Native Roots Radio.
And we're back to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake, and this is Robert Pilot.
This episode of Minneapolis AIR, American Indian Relations on Native Roots Radio, is supported by the City of Minneapolis. And here's our guest host today, Anthony Taylor.
Hi, welcome back, everyone. My name is Anthony Taylor, filling in for Christine McDonald here on Native Roots Radio, Minneapolis AIR. Fortunate enough to have StoryCorps conversation to come on today. Our next guests are Michele Jackson, Deputy Director of Racial Equity, Inclusion and Belonging, and Rumyana Hulmequist, Equity and Inclusion Program Coordinator, talking about the city's partnership with StoryCorps and recording residents' memories for their historical record. Super excited about this initiative in the city of Minneapolis. Welcome to you both. How are you feeling today?
I'm feeling really good. Thank you.
Feeling great. Thanks for having us.
Yes, excellent. Let's get into it because I can't wait to tell our community about this. So first, just really introduce both of you. Michele, I'd love for you to go, then Rumyana, you go. Just tell us who you are. What do you do for racial equity, inclusion, and belonging?
Again, my name is Michele. Pleasure to meet you and everyone else, and including everyone on Native Roots listening in today. I am from Atlanta. I'm new to the city of Minneapolis and to the state of Minnesota. I've been here about a year. I came here specifically for this work. I am a sociologist specializing in race and urban studies, a historian, former curator and director for a museum in Atlanta, and I am a race scholar. And so doing this work is really central to the work that I've been doing for nearly 3 decades. And that work really does matter to me. It speaks to the heart of everything I do and making sure that I am giving enough of myself in order to affect some systemic change that my children, my children's children, and my children's children's children, and yours too, will be able to benefit from and be able to see tangible change over time. So that is what brought me to the city of Minneapolis and the new Racial Equity, Inclusion, and Belonging Department.
Hi, I'm Rumyana Hulmequist, again, Equity and Inclusion Program Coordinator with the Racial Equity, Inclusion, and Belonging Department. I'm actually 13 days on the job, so I'm super new, and it's really exciting to jump into the work and get to share what the city and the RIB department is doing directly with Native audiences. I grew up in North Minneapolis, attended and graduated from Minneapolis Public Schools. I've lived and worked in Minneapolis for all of my professional life, worked over at Bryan Coyle and Cedar Riverside, worked at Project for Pride and Living along the American Indian Cultural Corridor, and then worked over at the North Career Force Center on West Broadway. My work has been within the local nonprofit setting at the intersection of race equity and workforce development. And I see my role here at the city is just a scaling up of this work and being able to, at a much bigger level and systems change level, be able to do race equity work and represent my city.
Yeah, and really welcome to you both to the city. I know Deputy Director Jackson, you've been here a little bit longer. Rumyana, you're really a little bit new, but super welcome, super excited about the work. And if we really talk about the work, right, Deputy Director Jackson, explain to people what exactly does Racial Equity, Inclusion, and Belonging Department do for the city?
Well, our role here is twofold. One is to effect positive change within the city to make sure that racial equity, inclusion, and belonging permeate throughout all of the work we do. When we are communicating with people out in different communities, making sure we have culturally responsive, culturally specific voices when we meet those community members, assuring that the policies that we are developing are not harmful to people, but actually go a step farther and work to reform or to change, cause some kind of change in the negative impacts that past policies have had on members of the community, as well as those that work within the city of the city of Minneapolis. And it's really that twofold, being able to affect the change within the work that we do in the city so that that work reaches the people out in the community. And so the ability to be able to do that from both lenses or both ends of the spectrum is really important to the work that we do. Affect that change internally so that we are positioned to do an effective job externally.
Yes, and that's a beautiful thing, and I love that. So one of the things that I think is important too is like exactly what have you been done specifically projects that's worked within the Native American community?
I'm going to let Rumyana take that one for you.
Yeah, one thing I'd love to uplift that the city has worked with the Native community on over the past couple of decades, actually, is the American Indian Memorandum of Understanding between the city and the Minneapolis Urban Indian Directors Group. It basically formalizes a relationship between the city and MUD, which is the coalition of Native-led organizations that have been serving the Native urban population for decades. They're the experts on what the Native community needs. And, I'm uplifting this particular piece of work with the city because it's been a long-standing commitment, and it very much models the kind of work that the city should and wants to continue to be doing with the Native community. And when we think about historical harms and harms that are continuing to be done today, particularly with the Native community, Native communities, and particularly in Minnesota and in Minneapolis, Dakota and Ojibwe Native folks predate the city of Minneapolis. And so this MOU models a sort of sovereign to sovereign relationship that is, to me, simply due diligence and due justice for how municipal governments, not only Minneapolis, but across the country, should be seeking to engage with Native communities. And connecting that to what we're here today to talk about, which is our StoryCorps project, we want to make sure that we're not only including, but centering Native voices in gathering information and experiences just basically stories on what the Native community locally has experienced, and particularly in the wake of the murder of George Floyd.
And one of the things I think is important, and I would love to really start to dig in, like StoryCorps, right? I think we talk about where we're at in the calendar. We're looking at May. Obviously, I think if we go back to May of 2020, we understand kind of what happened in our city. So I would love to have folks talk more about what exactly is StoryCorps. And I'd love to turn it over to you, Deputy Director Jackson.
Sure. Wonderful. So I'm a historian. I come from the city of Atlanta. I worked for a museum for 17 years. And about 20 years ago, I had the opportunity to work with StoryCorps during their first year out. StoryCorps is a national nonprofit organization that specializes in collecting and offering safe spaces for people within the community that focus predominantly on those voices that have largely been oppressed or excluded from the ability to be able to participate in these kinds of initiatives, so that they have an authentic story that they tell that becomes memorialized. StoryCorps offers the opportunity for anyone, if they choose to do so, to be able to have their stories archived in the Library of Congress. And so that's one of the major draws. And when we did this almost 2 decades ago in the city of Atlanta, it was a healing moment for us in our city. We were dealing with some of the same issues that the city of Minneapolis is dealing with and has been dealing with since the murder of George Floyd in 2020. And the ability to be able to have a safe space to tell our authentic stories was extremely important. And a lot of people participated. Different generations participated, cross generations. Children were interviewing elders to share their stories about their experiences. And as a historian, one of the really important components of for me is the ability to be able to control your story and control your voice. And StoryCorps gives us the opportunity to have that voice being heard and preserved from our own perspective without someone else telling the story for us.
I love that, right? I'm a big component of controlling one's narrative, right? And you mentioned something I think that was really important. And you talked about healing, right? You talked about healing and how being able to share your story control your own narrative kind of helps with that. And quite honestly, if I'm really going to be truthful here, I think the city of Minneapolis has a lot of work to do for that healing to happen, right? And if StoryCorps, I think, is another avenue, I think it's a beautiful idea. One of the things I think is important, though, if you can kind of talk about this, like for our indigenous community, right? So how does this fit with the city's broader racial equity and truth-telling efforts?
All right, so I'll jump in really quick and then I'll turn it over to Rumyana to answer most of the question for you. But one of the things I recognized when I arrived here was that the truth and reconciliation work that the city wanted to do had staggered and slowed. And one of the ways that we can get to healing is first by listening to those authentic stories. So the people can tell us what it is that they need from us. And then the ability to be able to learn from those stories so we can craft and create the initiatives that the community members actually voice themselves and say that they need so that we can get to a place of healing. And then I'll let Rumyana, please go ahead and take it away.
Yeah, so StoryCorps and the Share Your Story initiative, like we've all alluded to, is about healing. It's a part of truth and reconciliation processes that the city is working on. Specifically for the local Native community, it's about reclaiming your identity and your narrative. Being Roma myself, I'm adopted. I wasn't born in this country. I did grow up in Minneapolis. I'm very aware of how popular culture and media and capitalism co-opt people's identities and stories, and specifically the Native community. Misperceptions around the myth of the pastness of Native people, stereotypes and things like that. And so from our perspective, this Share Your Story initiative is really about reclaiming your narrative, reclaiming your identity, showing people what it means to be Native and being proud of it. And also, it's for the city primarily about listening, about humility and learning from those that we have harmed.
Yeah, I think this is great, right? And I can't wait to kind of get into a little bit more about StoryCorps when we come back. Definitely have some questions about those stories getting archived and then really being able to dig into, like, what do you know about this city? So we'll come back after this break.
Hey, we'll be right back. You're listening to Minneapolis AIR, American Indian Relations on Native Roots Radio.
The city of Minneapolis is now on Native Roots Radio with Minneapolis AIR. AIR stands for American Indian Relations. Guest host Christine McDonald talks to people about important things affecting the city's Native communities. Minneapolis AIR dives into topics like public safety, public health, elections, and so much more. Tune in to Minneapolis AIR on Native Roots Radio from 5 to 6 p.m. on the second Wednesday of every month, right here on AM 950. Did you know that from birth to age 3, simple activities like talking, playing, reading, and singing can profoundly impact your child's development? Little Moments Count is dedicated to providing parents with the resources they need to make the most of these moments. Visit the website littlemomentscount.org to connect to a collection of resources designed to support you in giving your child the best start in life. That's littlemomentscount.org.
Doherty Family College at the University of St. Thomas is your pathway to a bachelor's degree. Located in downtown Minneapolis, Doherty Family College offers an affordable education that includes free textbooks, a laptop, meals, career coaches, and a Metro Transit pass. As a full-time Doherty Family College student, you'll benefit from mentorship from St. Thomas faculty, along with paid internships and support from Minnesota's largest private college. Ready to turn your dreams into reality? Apply now at dfc.stthomas.edu. Doherty Family College, your journey to success starts here.
Signing up for $1 bus and train rides with the Transit Assistance Program, or TAP, is quick and easy. Do it straight from your computer or phone by uploading one of the pre-approved documents listed at metrotransit.org/TAP, along with a copy of your ID. We'll mail you a to-go card with a full year of discounted rides. For questions or translation help, call 612-373-3333. 612-373-3333.
Oh, this is Dallas Goldtooth, and you're listening to the Native Roots Radio. Hoka, hicha, wecha.
Welcome back to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake, and this is Robert Pilot.
This episode of Minneapolis AIR, American Indian Relations on Native Roots Radio, is supported by the City of Minneapolis, and we're here now with our guest host, Anthony Taylor.
Welcome back. My name is Anthony Taylor, filling in for Christine McDonald. Talking here with Michele Jackson and Rumyana Hulmequist, right? From Race, Equity, Inclusion, and Belonging, talking about StoryCorps and the opportunity for folks in Minneapolis, especially our Native American community members, to kind of share their narrative and their stories. And it leads a lot to hopefully some type of healing. So I just real quick, I got a kind of a follow-up question before we kind of get into the next segment. And Deputy Director Jackson, you talked about being a historian, right? And loving the fact how history kind of shapes our future. And as StoryCorps kind of comes to the city of Minneapolis, I'm sure you have kind of done your homework and your research on StoryCorps. Can you just talk a little bit about some of the things you've heard? Because they've probably been all over the country, I'm assuming. Can you just kind of tell us like some of the things that you've heard their work on different communities?
Oh, wow. How much time? This is an amazing organization, and they also partner with other organizations. So I want to shout out Lion Story, because Lion Story is also partnered with StoryCorps, and they were here for us in Minneapolis as we launched to bring in racial literacy that allows people to understand how to heal as an individual, as well as within a community or in communication with others, and from an institutional level as well, or standpoint, and the ability to be able to confront these issues and the traumas as they happen, when they happen, and to walk through that from a perspective of healing. And so StoryCorps has been all over this country. They will be simultaneously in multiple places at one and the same time. This really is an initiative that really speaks to the heart of the communities that have largely been underserved, and having the ability to be able to center their voices and their stories and have them archived so that their children, generations down the line, would be able to look up their stories in the Library of Congress and be able to see, oh, that's my great-great-grandfather, or that's my great-great-grand-aunt. And they share this story, and now I get to learn from that story. That's one of the things that is really important for me, to be able to leave something behind that benefits the people that I brought into this world, the people that I work to help to heal. And so their initiatives are all across the country. Cities across the country create initiatives, usually around any particular theme. And one of the great components of that is that you can largely hear all of the stories, or the stories that are being told on NPR. So NPR regularly centers StoryCorps, where you can listen to the stories in a themed, or I would say coordinated program that plays on National Public Radio.
Yeah, and thank you for that. Like, because I try to put myself in the lens of a community member too. I'm like, who are these people? Where are they from? And can you vouch for them, right? If I'm going to tell my story, so I'm putting my community member hat on, and like you said, you're a historian. You vetted these folks. You've seen their work, so that's the only reason why I asked. Because I would ask that question too if I'm sitting there listening to Native Roots Radio. And as we talk about these stories, right? Like, how do they get archived? Do they get chosen? Like, how does that decision come in? Or what stories get highlighted?
Yeah, so consent is central to StoryCorps and to this partnership in the storytelling initiative that we're asking and inviting you to participate in. So if you choose to consent, your story can be saved in the StoryCorps archive and uploaded to the or vice versa, uploaded to the StoryCorps archive and saved in the Library of Congress for posterity. But again, it's up to you. You get to show up however you want with the storytelling. You can do it in English or in another language. If the project is built out in a way that's not culturally responsive, please let us know. We want to make sure that this is happening to the best of our abilities on your terms. Yeah, that's pretty much it.
And how can people sign up to share their stories?
Yes. So you can actually sign up right now. If you go to the Minneapolis StoryCorps webpage, you can sign up. You can sign or complete an interest form if you'd like to do an in-person interview with the StoryCorps mobile booth. You do that in partnership with a person of your choice. There are 50 spots that are available between May 13th and May 22nd. And then, like I started out saying, I kind of got my things mixed up, but you can also upload your story to the StoryCorps webpage at any time. That's already started and is available. And you're able to upload, record and upload your story to that webpage until May 31st.
And thank you for sharing that, Rumyana. One of the things, and I'd love to really hear what you guys want to share. Selfishly, this is really personal for me, and I think a lot of people in our communities, because one of the things I think is always important is being able to be in community too, and you hear other folks sharing their stories, and it kind of fosters a little bit of community in that time, right? And if I can go and I can look at other people's stories, it may help me even want to share, right? Because there's folks out there who might be a little bit shy, but I start to hear these stories, it might give me a little bit more confidence to be able to share my story, because I would feel like I'm not alone, right? And other people feel like me as well. So I would love for the both of you to kind of share as we kind of close out the show, just anything that you want to share with our audience about StoryCorps and the importance of this happening during this time in the city of Minneapolis.
I'll say that every voice matters, every story matters. And all of our stories, all of our disparate stories, all of the stories that we have in our lives that separate us from each other actually create this wonderful tapestry of understanding. And it helps us understand just how much we have in common with people that we may perceive as being so different from us. What we come to be able to realize is that the core values we share in humanity as human beings are very similar across the table. And it usually becomes an eye-opener for so many people just to understand exactly how much their stories mirror the stories of people that are perceived to be so different from them. And so when I think of StoryCorps and what StoryCorps is able to bring to the city of Minneapolis, particularly in a time when our history is being presently erased, is the ability to be able to have that voice heard in a time when our voices are actively being oppressed, and to have those stories preserved during a time when the going theme is that our stories do not matter, or our stories are not part or are not an important part of U.S. history. But as a reminder to us all that all of our stories matter, and every single one of our stories make up that tapestry that is U.S. history and that is world history. And so that's one of the important things I want us to remember when we think about StoryCorps, is that there is no story that is too small or unimportant. Every single one of these stories matters and helps us understand how we can do our work better in the city of Minneapolis.
Yeah, I love that, right? Rumyana, just real quick, anything you want to share?
Yeah, just sort of housekeeping. We'll continue to promote this. We'll be present at events during American Indian Month to continue to promote, engage with the Native community around how you can participate in this StoryCorps project. And this isn't a one and done thing. We're not just coming here and extracting stories. We're here to truly listen. This is a continuous effort. It's a long-term commitment. And we'll be reaching back out to the community and engaging folks in the fall to share out the archive that is Minneapolis's historical record and to be able to celebrate the stories that have been shared and the lessons learned.
Thank you. This has been wonderful. Great information. I appreciate it. For you guys coming, I want to thank Robert Pilot, Haley Cherry for allowing me to sit in on this show. For Christine McDonald, thank you, everyone.
Yes, thank you so much for having us.
What a great show. Great job, Anthony. Big Peony Gigi this month is Minneapolis AIR in American Indian Relations. Tune in the second Wednesday of every month to hear more from our friends in the city of Minneapolis. This has been Native Roots Radio, and we'll see you back tomorrow. Summer is fast approaching. How will your teens spend their days? Reconnecting Our Roots is a unique opportunity for Native American teens